Steve Cotton is a financial strategist and policy expert. He's the president of Cotton Wealth Management Associates. He joins us now to talk a little bit about China. Steve, it looks like we have another trade war with China, or is this one that's been ongoing for years?
Well, this is just the latest chapter in a long line of chapters with China trying to gain unilateral trade advantages over all of its trading partners, not just us. When it was admitted to the World Trade Organization a long time ago, the thinking in the West was that this would encourage the Chinese to join the international community of nations and engage in free and fair trade, and it might lead to a liberalization of the Chinese political system. That has been proven sadly wrong, and China has used its membership to seek unilateral economic advantage over the U.S. and all of its trading partners. And I think some of their bad actions over the last 30 years are starting to catch up with them.
And this is kind of a new thing that we're actually challenging that.
You're exactly right. President Trump really has been the first president to call them out on their bad trading practices. They're dumping steel in the United States to undermine U.S. steel companies. They've spent the last 30 years seeking to lock down and lock up strategic and critical minerals all around the world. And they now process about 90% of the critical minerals that we need for things like our defense products.
You know, I hear people say this all the time about China, Steve, and that is that we get everything from them, that we've given away all of our manufacturing, that we're completely dependent on them. That doesn't seem like a very smart thing.
Well, it's not. I think it's been a source of neglect, strategic neglect, for many administrations, Democratic and Republican, over the years, and the first Trump administration started to address this. The current administration is hiking the focus on this, but they've been doing all kinds of things that are strategically hostile. Their intellectual property theft from American companies and industries has never been higher. They're buying farmland adjacent to U.S. military bases. Now, why in the world would they do that? China is one of the single greatest sources of cybersecurity threats, and we've found evidence of them in our energy grid.
What is the best thing we can do, Steve, to deal with China in this case? Because they're not going anywhere.
Well, China is extremely vulnerable to economic pressure. Chairman Xi has got major domestic economic and political problems of his own. He had a stroke last year. There's some question now whether he actually controls the Chinese military. He's been conducting political and military purges. There's something like 24% Chinese youth unemployment, which scares the bejesus out of the Communist Party hierarchy because they know that unemployed youth is a source of potential revolution against the party, and that scares them. And they're seeing more and more companies withdraw from China because of China's heavy-handedness, and they're reshoring to adjacent Asian countries or coming back to the United States.
Given all the problems they have at home, why is China saber-rattling all the time about Taiwan?
Well, they're very frustrated with the Taiwanese because the Taiwanese continue to be independent, and in their elections, they tend to elect presidents that are against reunification. This is a terrible source of frustration to the Communist Party because they see Taiwan historically as part of China, and prior to the aftermath of World War II and the nationalists fleeing to Taiwan, it was part of China. They are determined to recapture China either politically or economically, or if all else fails, militarily, and they're very frustrated because they haven't been able to initiate that yet.
Steve, what would you tell President Trump if you had his ear right now about China?
I would say, Mr. President, you are on the right course. Stay the course. Remain tough. Be flexible in your negotiations, but keep the focus on U.S. economic and defense interests. We're at a point of maximum leverage with the Chinese, and we need to seek a win-win, but only on terms that are fair to the United States.
Steve Cotton's a financial strategist and policy expert. He's the president of Cotton Wealth Management Associates. Steve, great stuff. Thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ernie. Glad to be with you.